I didn't know any better. I just remember the hurt.
Child molestation. As the Catholic Church struggles with the pedophile priest scandal, another church faces its own ugly allegations.
He's a sexual predator. When he goes door to door, he has a craving for young juvenile girls.
And how is this church responding?
We certainly never tell them not to report a case of child molestation.
But some victims who do go to the police tell John Larson they are shunned, even threatened with expulsion.
He raped me, and he came love.
They were robbed of their childhoods. Now they want justice. Will they find it?
By a trusted religious figure, but not yet. So tonight it's not priests under fire. In fact, our story began long before the Catholic Church scandal broke last January. The scenario of alleged abuse is much the same, but the consequences of coming forward for people whose faith was the center of their lives would be harsh and profound. Here's John Larson.
In a small town like Othello, Washington, neighbors are often friends, and friends like family, which makes the story you're about to hear even more painful. Because for Erica Garza, who grew up here, there was no one closer, no one she trusted more than her parents' best friend.
You would have never known by looking at him or by the way he acted, what he was doing on the side.
What that friend, Manuel Belize, was doing was molesting Erica, sexually abusing her. She says it started when she was just 5 years old.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
What was your reaction when he first started touching you?
I didn't know any better. I just remember it hurt. Out of anything, I just remember the hurt.
A hurt that grew, she says, because her molester pressured her to keep it all a secret. And while that may not be surprising, this isn't a story about a molester trying to stay in the shadows. This is a story about others who may have played a role not only in Erica's abuse, but the abuse of other victims as well.
They didn't care about what had happened. Everything they did was trying to hide the facts.
Both Erica and her molester were members of the same church, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Are you taking part in the preaching work?
Jehovah's Witnesses are evangelical Christians, best known for going door to door handing out Awake magazine. Jehovah's Witnesses have 6 million members worldwide and some controversial rules. No birthdays or Christmas, no blood transfusion, no military service, no saluting the flag, all of which separates them, sometimes even isolates them from mainstream America. In fact, in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses, anyone outside the church, most of you watching tonight, are considered part of Satan's world, a world which, as depicted in the church's literature, will be destroyed by God. True Jehovah's Witnesses, those who closely follow the church's rules, will survive to live forever on a perfect earth. But now there are accusations that the church, run out of its headquarters in New York, called the Watchtower Society, is covering up cases of child molestation, protecting molesters, and keeping secrets that put children at risk. Consider what happened to Erica Garza. By the time she was 16, Erica's family had moved away from Othello to a new home and new Kingdom Hall in California, where one day she found the courage to tell her family her terrible secret. And what did her father, Reuben Garza, do?
Report it to the police? No, never mentioned report it to the police. Take care of it in the congregation.
Reuben Garza, who was one of the church's lay ministers or elders, says that's precisely what Jehovah's Witness leaders had taught him. And so instead of going to the police, he and his wife Alejandra called the elders back in Othello.
So let me say the obvious. I mean, your daughter's been raped. Didn't you think, I gotta go to the cops?
That was my first reaction. But as a witness, first you gotta go to the elders when you have a problem.
But the elders didn't go to the police either. Why? Well, legally, they didn't have to. Only 16 states require clergy members to report any and all suspected child abuse, and Washington State is not one of them. Instead, church elders opened their own internal investigation. It's one of the things that sets Jehovah's Witnesses apart from most other religious groups. The church has its own judicial system.
Whenever a church member is accused of doing something wrong, whether it's breaking a church rule like smoking, committing a sin like adultery, or even committing a crime like rape, the local church appoints a special committee of elders to investigate the charge. Now, if the accused is found guilty, they can be reprimanded or, in worst cases, kicked out of the church, disfellowshipped, potentially cut off from their friends and family, losing their chance, they believe, at everlasting life. For a Jehovah's Witness, there can be no greater punishment.
Erica Garza expected her molester would, at the very least, be disfellowshipped. But after 5 months of waiting for the church in Othello to act, she got angry and did the unthinkable.
So I called my elders, and I said, look, I'm taking it to the police.
What did they say?
Don't. Or else.
Or else what?
That's what I said. I said, or else what? And he said, just don't. I said, what, I'll be disfellowshipped? If I take it to the police, is that what's going to happen to me? And he said, yes, you will be disfellowshipped. And I was just like, what? You're going to disfellowship me for being raped? Yet the guy who raped me is still a Jehovah's Witness? And they said, don't. Don't take it to the police. You will be condemned by God.
It was October 1996, and Erica says she finally decided whatever the penalty, she had to go to the police. Following an investigation, Manuel Belief was charged with molestation and rape. And the church? Erica says her California Kingdom Hall not only shunned her, but shunned her family as well.
What happened?
Was removed as an elder.
So they kicked you out?
Yes, they did.
Erica felt abused, abandoned by her church, and alone. But what she couldn't have known was that it would be 4 more years before another Jehovah's Witness. This time, an elder 2,000 miles away would take a special interest in Erica's case. The elder had uncovered evidence, he says, that there were many more victims like Erica within Witness Kingdom Hall. And now he, too, was about to break with the church and go outside into what witnesses believe is the realm of Satan, the outside world, to expose the church's secrets.
You talking to me right now, it's like you're talking to Satan.
That's correct. I'm attacking God, is what they said.
In the view of the church, sitting down with us right now.
Yes.
Jill Bowen is a candle maker in Kentucky and a lifelong Jehovah's Witness. It all began, he says, about 2 years ago when he was filing confidential church records at the local Kingdom Hall and stumbled on this letter. It describes an admission dating back to the 1980s, a molestation case that he says the church had swept under the rug.
About how old was this child that was involved in this case?
As I reviewed the material, it appeared to me she was about 11 years of age.
And the admitted molester? A man Bowen knew well, a fellow elder who got only a slap on the wrist from the church and was never reported to police. Outraged, Bowen put a message on the internet to see if there were other similar cases. The response, he says, was an avalanche of pain and frustration.
These were all Jehovah's Witnesses that had been molested and silenced within the church.
Bill Bowen is not saying Jehovah's Witnesses have more molesters than any other religious group. The problem, he says, is how the church handles the cases that come to its attention. Like the case of Daniel Fitzwater, a Jehovah's Witness elder in Nevada. Bowen discovered that according to the church's own internal records, church officials knew of 17 girls who had accused Fitzwater of molesting them. But police say the church never passed that information on to them. Bowen also learned that in New Hampshire, Paul Berry beat and sexually tortured his stepdaughter Holly Brewer from the time she was 4. But Holly's mother says that when she complained to church elders that Berry was beating Holly and her other kids, the elders told her to be a better wife and to pray more. She also says they never informed police as required by state law. The church denies that, saying she never told them of the abuse. Holly later ran away from home and says she disfigured herself with tattoos and piercings in response to the abuse.
It started out by me internalizing the pain. It really did. It started by me, I want to mess myself up. I want to make myself look as ugly as I can. I don't want any guys to hit on me. I don't want to be attractive to people.
Both Paul Berry in New Hampshire and Daniel Fitzwater in Nevada ultimately were convicted of sexual crimes and are now in prison. But Bill Bowen says many others in the church accused of sexual abuse have never been reported to police. It's a claim he says he's heard, though not verified, from several hundred current and former church members. His conclusion? Disturbing, to say the least.
It's a pedophile paradise within the organization. I believe that.
What's the danger that you've been consumed by this to the point that you've blown it all out of proportion? I mean, pedophile paradise? Come on.
I believe it with all my heart. There is a massive problem in the organization.
But Bill Bowen is just one man in one congregation in Kentucky. This woman, Barbara Anderson, worked for a decade inside Jehovah's Witness headquarters. When Anderson saw Bowen's messages on the Internet, she says she realized she had to tell him there was much more to the story, involving children in many of the 11,000 congregations across the country.
I don't believe that they're safe within their church.
Anderson was a researcher at the Watchtower Society in the early 1990s, when a senior official there asked her to look into the church's handling of sexual abuse cases. What she found, she says, sickened her. Hundreds of molestation cases on record, all kept secret in church files. Secret not only from the outside world, but from the members themselves, the families, the mothers, fathers, and children who trust the church is looking out for them.
I believe that if they ask to see the congregation records, they will find that there are many envelopes with letters that discuss men or women in the congregation that were accused of molesting a child.
Why would the church want to keep these cases secret and in-house? Anderson agrees that part of the problem is the church's distrust of the outside world, but she says it's not that simple. Anderson says when church elders investigate crimes like child molestation, they follow instructions that may prevent them from taking action, ancient instructions taken from the Bible itself.
They basically use the scripture in 1 Timothy 5:19 that states you're not to make an accusation against an older man unless there are 2 or 3 witnesses.
What are the odds that there are going to be 2 or 3 witnesses to an older man molesting an 8-year-old girl?
No molester is going to have any witnesses, that's for sure.
The sum in total of their investigation would be going to a pedophile and say, did you do it? Nope. Okay, guess we better go on then. Sorry we bothered you. Did he ask any questions?
Bill Bowen says if you want to get an idea of how the church sweeps cases under the rug,
Good afternoon, Watchtower.
just listen to part of a conversation Bowen recorded a little over a year ago with an official in the Jehovah's Witness legal department.
Good afternoon, legal department.
Bowen called seeking advice on how to handle a suspected molestation case involving a young girl and her father. Instead of being told to report it to the police, Bowen is told to confront the suspected abuser.
You just ask him again, now, is there anything to this? If he says no, then I would walk away from it.
Yeah.
Leave it for Jehovah. He'll bring it out.
Yeah.
But don't get yourself in a jam.
Again, there was no insistence that this matter be brought to the authorities in the outside world. Bowen says he was so upset by the whole case, he resigned as a church elder and vowed to help abuse victims. He didn't know that halfway across the country, Erica Garza was feeling the same frustration as she prepared to face her molester in court.
Did any of those elders, any of the people in the church, stand up and speak on your behalf?
No. Oh, you're welcome.
But Erica Garza was about to find out that she wasn't really all alone.